Are you aware of the invisible threads that pull you towards certain types of people? Today's video peels back the layers of why some of us seem to constantly attract individuals who bring chaos and turmoil into our lives. Make sure you stay until the end, as we identify the psychological patterns that lead to these toxic connections. The last point will tie everything together, so it's crucial you don't miss it. When we speak of toxic behavior, we envision actions and words that seep into our lives, quietly corroding the joy and peace we hold dear. This toxicity manifests in various forms, through individuals who may manipulate, deceive, or exploit the vulnerabilities of others. These behaviors are insidious, often wrapped in guises of affection or concern, making them harder to identify and combat. Imagine someone who consistently undermines your efforts, no matter how hard you try. Each achievement you share is met with criticism or belittlement, diminishing your sense of accomplishment and self-worth. Or consider the friend who drains your emotional energy, leaning on you for support, yet vanishes when you find yourself in need. These individuals possess an uncanny ability to spotlight your weaknesses, ensuring their subtle control over your emotions and actions. This kind of behavior disrupts not just individual moments, but weaves a pattern that can dominate the fabric of one's relational life. It creates an environment where doubt, insecurity, and fear replace trust, confidence, and happiness. The constant questioning of one's decisions, the walking on eggshells, the need to always be pleasing. These are signs that you might be trapped in the orbit of a toxic individual. Understanding why we attract such individuals begins with recognizing these patterns. Many who find themselves repeatedly entangled in toxic relationships often have a history of similar dynamics, possibly stretching back to childhood. The familiarity of these dynamics, no matter how destructive, can make them strangely comforting. We might not even realize that relationships can exist in a healthier, more nurturing form. Identifying toxic behavior is crucial because it is the first step towards change. Acknowledging that a person's actions are detrimental to your well-being allows you to begin setting boundaries. These boundaries are not just physical but also emotional and psychological. They serve as barriers, protecting your inner peace from those who seek to disrupt it. The journey towards healthier relationships begins with the ability to say no to detrimental behaviors and to recognize the worth of one's own peace and happiness over the chaotic upheaval toxic people bring. In our pursuit of understanding, we delve into the shadows cast by these toxic figures, aiming to illuminate the patterns that draw us towards them. This awareness is a beacon, guiding us away from turmoil and towards the light of healthier, more fulfilling connections. In a world where your value might seem like it's constantly under evaluation, understanding your intrinsic worth is like discovering a hidden treasure within yourself. It's about recognizing that you deserve relationships that enrich your life, rather than diminish your spirit. This realization is vital as it forms the cornerstone upon which boundaries are built. Consider the story of a young artist whose vibrant dreams were often overshadowed by a partner who viewed the world through a lens of cynicism. Each sketch and painting wasn't just a piece of art, but a piece of her soul. Yet her partner's dismissive attitude began to paint her world gray, stifling her creative spark. It wasn't until she saw the reflection of her dimmed light in the eyes of a supportive friend that she realized she had been compromising her self-worth. Boundaries are not walls, but rather the personal guidelines we set to protect our emotional and psychological well-being. They are the expression of our self-respect, informing others of how we expect to be treated. True boundaries are empowered choices that define the terms on which others are allowed to interact with us. They help us navigate through social interactions, ensuring that our self-esteem is not just maintained, but nurtured. Imagine you're at a garden party, where every guest brings a flower to add to a communal bouquet. If someone arrives with wilted flowers, you are not obligated to include them in your arrangement. Similarly, in relationships, you decide what behaviors you accept. This choice stems from a strong sense of self-worth and the understanding that you are deserving of respect and kindness. However, setting boundaries is often easier said than done. It requires the courage to acknowledge and act upon your worth, especially when you might fear the repercussions of asserting yourself. It's like standing at the edge of a stage, the spotlight hitting your face, and instead of stepping back into the shadows, you choose to remain, letting the world see your resolve. The process of establishing and maintaining boundaries is a continuous journey. It begins with self-reflection, understanding your values, desires, and what you truly merit. Each time you assert a boundary, you reaffirm your worth. Over time, these moments build a life less susceptible to the whims of those who may not have your best interests at heart. In the narrative of our lives, we are the protagonists who deserve a plot that uplifts and supports our journey. By fostering strong self-worth and clear boundaries, we shift the script, attracting those who not only respect these limits, but celebrate them. Our lives are like tapestries, woven with threads of memories and experiences. Each thread, colored by past relationships and interactions, contributes to the pattern that emerges as our present life. Some threads are vibrant, imbued with the joy of supportive relationships, while others are darker, marked by encounters with toxicity. It's in these darker threads that patterns of attracting toxic individuals often originate. Visualize a young person who grew up witnessing relationships filled with turmoil and misunderstanding. Their foundational understanding of love and interaction was colored by these early experiences. As they step into the world of their own relationships, this palette of darker colors feels familiar, almost comforting in its consistency. They might not consciously seek out discord, but there's an unconscious gravitation towards what they know, what they've always experienced. This gravitation is not a choice, but a learned pattern. The heart and mind, attuned to familiar frequencies, often replay old scripts. Breaking these patterns requires not just awareness, but a deep, often challenging confrontation with the past. It involves re-examining painful memories and understanding their impact on current behaviors. Imagine walking through a labyrinth where each turn represents a choice in relationships. The paths marked by past habits are well-trodden, easy to follow, but leading back to the same central point of dissatisfaction and hurt. Now consider the effort required to forge a new path, one that leads out of the labyrinth towards healthier relationships. It's a path that demands strength, resilience, and often guidance, but it's also one that promises a future where old patterns no longer dictate the journey. This journey is about transforming insight into action. It's about recognizing that the familiarity of toxic relationships is a mirage, one that promises the comfort of recognition but delivers pain. Each step away from this familiarity is a step towards a new pattern, one where relationships enhance rather than diminish one's life. In our story of self-discovery, recognizing and breaking from past patterns is a pivotal chapter. It's here that we decide to stop the cycle of attracting toxic people, choosing instead to weave new threads into our tapestry, ones that add brightness and strength to our relational fabric. There's a strange comfort in the familiar, a solace found in the predictability of patterns, even when they lead us down paths of discomfort or distress. This allure of the familiar, especially in the context of relationships, often traps us in cycles that we yearn to break yet find ourselves repeatedly drawn to. Picture the warmth of a dimly lit room on a cold night. The shadows may be deep, the corners unexplored, but the familiarity of the space wraps around you like an old blanket, frayed but comforting. This is the power of the familiar in human connections. It's a force that pulls us towards people who resonate with past echoes, people whose behaviors and ways of being trigger a sense of recognition within us. Why do we gravitate toward relationships that replicate past pains? The answer lies deep within our psyche. Our emotional brain is wired to cling to what it knows, to seek out scenarios that feel recognizable, because recognition is often conflated with safety. Even when this safety is deceptive, it's a known quantity, and to our subconscious, the known is less threatening than the unknown. Navigating through life, we often encounter individuals who strike a chord with these familiar tunes. They might echo the distant laughter of a caretaker whose affection was conditional, or mirror the cold indifference of a former ally. These people fit into our emotional landscapes, not because they offer what we need for growth or happiness, but because they resonate with what we've previously experienced. However, the comfort of the familiar is a seductive trap. It promises ease and avoidance of the anxiety that new experiences bring, yet it also cages us in cycles of repeated experiences that stunt our emotional and relational growth. Imagine standing at the crossroads of a dense forest. The path well-trodden is clear and inviting, offering little resistance, but leading back to the same old scenes. In contrast, the less-traveled path is overgrown, obscured, and uncertain, yet it promises the thrill of discovery and the potential for new horizons. Choosing the unfamiliar path requires courage. It demands that we confront our deepest fears about the unknown and challenge the comfort that the familiar holds. It's a step into the forest of the uncharted, where the possibilities of nurturing, supportive, and enriching relationships await. This choice, while daunting, is the gateway to transforming our narrative from one of repeated patterns to one of renewal and growth. Transforming the dynamics of attraction involves a journey deep into the heart of our desires and fears, charting a course through uncharted emotional waters to discover new shores of interpersonal relationships. This transformative voyage begins with the crucial step of self-reflection, a looking glass into our own depths to unearth the reasons behind our relational choices. Imagine a gardener tending to a garden that has long been neglected. The first task is to clear away the overgrowth of weeds, the misconceptions and false beliefs about self-worth that have choked the growth of healthier relational flora. This gardener must decide which plants are worth saving and which are better off removed. Similarly, we must evaluate our emotional landscape, identifying traits and potential partners that resonate with our true selves rather than with our past traumas. The next step in changing our attraction dynamics is seeking support, be it through counseling, therapy, or heartfelt conversations with trusted friends. These avenues provide mirrors for us to see ourselves more clearly, offering feedback that is both nurturing and honest. Support systems act like scaffolds, supporting us as we rebuild the structure of our relational lives. Furthermore, embracing personal growth is pivotal. This means actively engaging in activities and practices that enhance our understanding of ourselves and improve our emotional resilience. Whether through reading, meditation, or creative expression, these practices help forge a stronger, more confident self, capable of making healthier relationship choices. It's akin to strengthening muscles through repeated exercise. The more we practice self-improvement, the more adept we become at navigating relational challenges. Finally, implementing what we learn about ourselves into our everyday interactions is essential. This involves setting and maintaining boundaries, choosing to engage with those who respect and enhance our well-being, and stepping back from those who diminish it. It's about making conscious choices in our relationships, selecting paths that lead to mutual growth and respect rather than familiar pain. Each of these steps is a stroke of the oar that propels us forward on the journey to healthier relationships. As we navigate these waters, we move closer to a life where we no longer attract toxic people by default, but draw in those who reflect the best aspects of our being. We've uncovered some of the reasons behind why certain people repeatedly find themselves in the company of toxicity. Change is not only possible, it's within reach if you're willing to take steps toward self-understanding and renewal. Remember, transforming your relationship dynamics starts with you.